We're good.
Okay. My name's Steve Sturts with Sturts Stock Dogs. Me and Ross Bryant. Ross is my trainer, works for me with the dogs. We're going to go over some things that we think are important before you get the dog, things you should do to make your transition from buying him from us and you working him hopefully a more pleasurable one. I would like to say at the beginning that these dogs don't have an on-off switch. They're not a treadmill. They're not a walker. That there's going to take some input with you. There's going to be some times where things aren't going to go just right. It doesn't matter how well trained dog you have, new place, new situation, new sheep and goats. There's sometimes some things we have to work through. We're going to start off a little bit about design. This here is actually my barn and my track. There's some little things I'll probably do to it this year to change it, but it's basically it's a pretty good design. We have pens coming out from the barn to an alleyway. You notice my alleyway is the same width as my gate that opens up, and the gates open up towards the track. The gate going into the track opens up obviously like this. This way we can have an easy simulation from one pen to the alleyway to the track. One thing we'll change about this track this year is I would like to have the gate going into the middle of the track right here, and I'll probably add another 10-foot panel. There's 30 foot of panels, then the straightaway. I would never suggest getting more than 50 foot on the straightaway. Probably not suggest getting less than 30 foot on the straightaway. This is probably as small a track as I would like to have. I had a bigger track at one time. I tried this smaller one. It worked fine last year, but I'll probably add a panel and go one more 10 foot out on the straightaways. If you notice, my track is set to where the curve is actually next to their pens. These animals, these dogs and these goats, or these sheep and goats, are going to slow down every time right here to go back to their pen. They know where their pen is. In fact, they're going to slow down here. If I had my track running this way, they would slow down this whole time trying to get back to their pens. That's too much slow down time. I don't mind if a goat or a sheep slows down to stop, because I think we're going to do short sprints in here, and I think that's what's best. So when they slow down here, I can control my dog, slowly move the dog up, and then we'll do another sprint around here. I'm often asked, how many times around the track do you need to run your animals? How many laps do you need to make? That all depends. It depends on size of your track. It depends on what shape your lambs are in, or goats are in. It depends on your dog and how much he pushes them and how much he gets them going. I like to stop, especially when we start dogs, and we'll go through this later, but when we start sheep and goats on the track, I like to stop before they get so tired they want to fight. When they want to fight, that you've gone too long. What we want is a positive situation when we first put those animals on the track. And to have a positive situation, we want them moving off of the dog chasing them, putting them back in the pen, and being done before they ever want to fight. Now, once in a while, if you wait too long, you're going to get animals that want to fight. And we'll talk about some things you can do if the animals want to fight later on. But we want to start the animals when they're young. We want to get that fear factor in them. We want them to understand the predator-prey relationship, and this is why the tracking with a dog works better than any other exercise method, is that predator-prey relationship, that adrenaline they build up and what they get going in the muscle and the tone that they put on the animal is just so much better with a dog. And that's the advantage of having a dog. If you don't have that relationship of predator-prey, or you get them to where they fight, you're going to lose some of your edge that you have from working with a dog. So when we talk about getting your dog, you're going to get your dog in the first week or so. I would suggest you don't even bring it to the track, except for maybe to let it loose in here and run around on its own. We want you to get the dog to get used to you. We want him to get used to your voice. We want to get him used to your mannerisms, meaning your hand, the way you move. We want the dog to feel comfortable with you. We want you to put him on a lead, walk him around, call him to you, lie him down without any pressure from stock. You may take him in here and just let him run around, call him to you, and have him work that way, and that's going to be a positive situation. The other thing is you're going to want to take your sheep and goats that have never been on a track before, and you're going to want to put them in here by themselves. I often tell people, if you're a sheep or a goat and you're at this height and you look down here and you've never been in here before, it looks like a box canyon. This is when you get unfavorable situations of animals trying to run through the fence, jump over the fence, or do cartwheels and all kinds of stuff that you don't need them doing. If you let that dog loose on them when they first start off and they start off that way and they don't know it's a corner, they're going to try to run through it or over it. So if you can put the sheep in here by themselves, let them get used to the track, let them know where the in and out gate is, let them know that it's an oval shape and they can get from one end to the other, and how they do that, it's going to be much more favorable. The next step would be to take your dog in there with a lead on him. Doing that will allow you to take him in a short time or in control and move the sheep and goats around the track. You don't have to run them, just walk them. If one wants to fight them, you can help the dog out. You can let him know that you're there to help him. You can hit the sheep with a small piece of pipe or a small whip or something like that. Encourage the dog to bite them and turn them around. You can down the dog and get the sheep going in a motion. If you do that, those three things, in the first 20 days, 15, 20 days you get the dog, you're going to have a more positive situation when you go to letting the dog loose and going to controlling the animals. When we talk about controlling the dog, the reason we like a small pen and the reason we have a gate to get in the middle is because we're trying to use that dog's instinct to get those animals around the track. Okay, so when the animals come in here, we shut the gate and I'm in here. If we think of this as a circle on a clock, when the animals are at 12 o'clock and I'm at 6 o'clock and the sheep are in the middle of the dial, if I move to 5 o'clock and then the dog ought to move back to 11 o'clock and be straight across from on the dial. If I move to 3, he should move to 9. So when you think about that and the dog wanting to bring stock to you, we can move around in here and make subtle movements in a smaller track to control the dog. If the sheep are coming around this way and they get to here and the dog gets to here, if I step in front of that dog, that's a motion that's telling him, oh, I need to rethink, because he knows those sheep are going to continue to go. And he's going to want to slow down, and sometimes they'll even go back and start working back the other way because they're going to try to bring things to you. So I can slow him down by going towards him. I can release him by going back. So in that area where they're going to slow down, normally because their pens are there, I can control the situation by stepping in front of and releasing. Okay? And I'm using their instinct. If you think about cattle going down a chute, if you're back behind their shoulder, they're going to go. When you get up here, they're not. It's the same thing with a dog. If he's going around here and the sheep are in front of him, if I'm behind his shoulder, he's going to continue to go, because his fastest mode to get in front of those sheep is to go around to the front of them, okay? Now, when I'm following him behind that shoulder, if I see he's getting too close or start to work him too much or get ahead of him, I can growl at him, which we'll talk about later, and growl at him and say his name, and I can slowly step in front of him, and he'll slow down because that pressure has changed. There's stock pressure and people pressure, and what I'm doing there is I'm using people pressure to stop him, okay, or to slow him down. Then if he gets slowed down, I can again release him like this. So I can constantly be moving in somewhat of a slow circle behind him and then step in front of him. When you start seeing videos of the dog, and mostly Ross will be working them and I'll be videoing, you'll see him going around somewhat in a circle. You'll see him move like this. You'll see him move like that. That also, when we want a dog to go a certain direction to release him, if he's lying down there, if we step like this and put our hand up this way, he's automatically going to come by. We may say come by, but he may be going more off our motions. If we go like this, it's going to be way to me. He'll use a rake as an extension. Just something like this is very handy to have. It's just an extension of an arm. It's something bigger to help him to be able to control that dog. So one of the things you want to do is get one of these plastic like leaf rakes. You can see we've broke a ton of them over the years, but you can use them to slow the dog down. You can even, if you have a dog that's too aggressive, reach over and actually get in front of him and get his attention. In talking about that, we train our dogs with the Roy Cox Canine Connection. That's the way we train them. It's a stimulus type situation. He's got a video that's called Roy Cox Canine Connection. I think it's called Stimulus, Success and Stimulus, or something of that sort. It's a very good video. If you want to get that video, I can promise you it will help you. That's how we start these dogs, and they respond to growling and to that type of stimulation that Roy Cox teaches, and that's the method we use to start these dogs and train these dogs. So it's very important that your track's set up in a way that's easy for the animals to get here. It's very important to me to have the least amount of surface area back towards the pens. You'll have less problems with trying to get the lambs around the corner or around the straightaway if you have that surface area the least amount on your track on one of your bends or one of your corners. It's very important to have the gates straight across from each other, which we don't have in this situation, but that way I can get out, open this gate, allow the lambs to come in, stop my dog, call him to me, and go to the next pen. So if I can physically let the animals out and step in front of the dog, I'm more in control. The smaller track is important because I have more control of my dog. As I said, this is as small as I would want to get. It's made from portable panels, real easy to put together, real easy to take down, and I can fill it with sand or cedar shavings or whatever I want to make it where they have to get more traction or whatever I want to do. And then I think the most important part is when you get your dog, acclimating him, getting him used to your voice, your mannerisms, letting him know when you growl at him and say no, that that's what you mean. And then introducing the stock to the track, introducing the dog to the track separately, slowly introducing them together on a lead rope, and then working towards letting the dog loose, chasing the animals and having control, being able to know that your motions in the middle of this track help with it being a positive situation, being able to stop your dog, start your dog, make him go faster, make him slow down. Those are all things that are important. The other thing is the Roy Cox Canine Connection video. You can Google that. Very, very good video on how to work a dog and what you can do, or in how we start dogs and what you can do to continue with the training that we've already imprinted in their mind with that Roy Cox Connection. Stop it for a second.